The wind howled outside, rattling the windows as Sarah pulled her blanket tighter around her shoulders. She had always loved horror stories, but tonight felt different. The stories she had found online weren't just fiction. They were real encounters, real people, real terror. As she scrolled through the thread labeled "Let's Not Meet," her hands trembled. Each post was a desperate plea, a warning from someone who had stared into the face of evil and lived to tell the tale. One story in particular made her heart pound. A man wrote about the night he heard footsteps in his attic, slow, deliberate steps when he was home alone. Another described a stranger who knocked on his window every night at exactly 3:13 a.m., whispering his name, even though he had never told a soul where he lived. The worst part, no one believed them. Sarah shut her laptop, trying to shake the feeling that she was being watched. It was just stories, right? But then a soft creak echoed from the hallway. Her breath caught. She wasn't expecting anyone. She told herself it was nothing, just the old house settling. But as she reached for her phone, the screen flickered, then died. The power was still on, but her battery had drained to zero. Her reflection in the dark window showed wide, fearful eyes. And then, in the corner of the glass, a shadow moved. If you think these are just tales to scare you, think again. Tonight, we're diving into 50 real-life horror stories that will keep you up all night. Keep your doors locked, check your windows, and whatever you do, don't look behind you. Sarah's breath hitched as she stared at the window, her pulse hammering in her ears. The shadow had been there, she was sure of it. But when she turned around, nothing was out of place. Just her quiet apartment, dimly lit by the flickering glow of a forgotten candle on the coffee table. The air felt heavy, charged, like the moment before a storm. She swallowed hard and reached for her phone again, hoping it had somehow powered back on. No luck. The battery remained at zero, even though she had charged it just an hour ago. A chill crept up her spine. Maybe she was overreacting. Maybe she had read too many of those stories, let them get under her skin. But then, a sound. Faint. Barely there. A soft tapping against the glass. Sarah's fingers dug into the armrest of the couch. She didn't move. Didn't breathe. The tapping came again. Steady. Rhythmic. It wasn't the wind. It wasn't her imagination. Summoning every ounce of courage, she turned her head slowly, her eyes darting to the window. This time, nothing. Just the reflection of her own terrified face staring back at her. She forced a nervous laugh, shaking her head. "Get it together, Sarah," she whispered under her breath. Maybe it had been a tree branch, or a trick of the light. She pushed herself off the couch, trying to shake the unease creeping through her. As she stepped toward the kitchen to get some water, her apartment felt different, as if something had shifted, though she couldn't quite place what. A strange tension in the air, as if she weren't alone. Her mind raced back to the stories she had been reading. People who had dismissed the strange little warnings, only to regret it later. A woman who ignored the knocking at her door, only to wake up with a note slipped under it that read, "I know you're alone." A man who thought he was imagining the whispers outside his bedroom until he saw the footprints in the snow the next morning. Sarah shook off the thought and reached for the faucet, her hands trembling slightly. The pipes groaned as water sputtered into the sink. She splashed her face, taking a deep breath. It was all in her head. It had to be. Then, just as she turned off the tap, her stomach dropped. The candle in the living room, the one she had left burning, was out, and the room was now in complete darkness. Sarah's breath came in short, uneven gasps. She hadn't blown out the candle, hadn't even been near it. Her eyes darted around the darkened room, searching for any sign of movement. The apartment felt impossibly still, but her gut screamed that she wasn't alone. Then a noise. Software. A whisper of fabric against the floor. It came from the hallway leading to her bedroom. Her pulse pounded in her ears as she forced herself to look. The door, which had been wide open moments ago, was now nearly shut. Just a sliver of darkness beyond it. And then the door moved. Sarah's legs felt frozen in place, her body unwilling to move, even as every instinct screamed for her to run. The door had moved. Not from the wind, not by accident. Someone or something had pushed it. She strained her ears, listening for any sound beyond the door. Silence. Her fingers curled into fists as she took a slow step forward. She didn't want to check. She shouldn't check. Every horror story she had ever read warned against it. But standing still felt worse. The air in the apartment was suffocating now, thick with an eerie stillness that made her skin crawl. She reached out with a trembling hand, pushing the door open just an inch wider. The darkness inside her bedroom seemed too deep, as if it swallowed the faint light from the hallway. Her eyes darted around, trying to adjust. Her bed was there, her dresser, the open closet door. Everything seemed normal until she noticed the closet door hadn't been open earlier. A sharp chill ran through her spine. Her mind raced. Had she left it open? She didn't think so. She forced herself to take another step forward, her heart hammering against her ribs. The floor creaked beneath her weight. Then, from inside the closet, the softest sound. A breath. Sarah's throat clenched. She wasn't alone. Someone was in there, watching, waiting. Her feet refused to move, her body locked in place as pure fear took over. Then, just as she thought she might pass out from the panic, the closet door inched open, slowly, deliberately. A pair of eyes gleamed in the darkness, locked onto hers. And then they moved forward. Sarah's scream caught in her throat. Her body refused to move as the figure inside the closet took a slow, deliberate step forward. The dim light from the hallway barely touched its form, but she could see the outline, tall, unmoving, watching her. Her pulse thundered in her ears. Then, suddenly, her phone buzzed. The vibration against the countertop in the kitchen was sharp, cutting through the suffocating silence. Sarah gasped, jerking her head toward the sound. But her phone had been dead. Her breath came in sharp, uneven bursts as the figure in the closet remained still, as if listening too. She had a choice, run for the phone or stay frozen in place. Every part of her screamed to move. Without thinking, she bolted. Her feet pounded against the hardwood floor as she sprinted toward the kitchen, nearly slipping as she reached for the device. The screen was on, glowing unnaturally bright. One notification stared back at her. Unknown number. Don't turn around. Her breath hitched. The words blurred as fear gripped her. She clenched the phone so tightly her knuckles turned white. A sharp chill crept up her neck, the overwhelming sense that someone was behind her. Slowly, against every instinct, she turned. The hallway was empty. The bedroom door stood wide open now, revealing nothing but darkness inside. The closet, the figure, it was gone. But something was wrong. The apartment felt different, as if she had stepped into an altered version of it. Even the shadows along the walls seemed misplaced, stretching in directions they shouldn't. Then her phone buzzed again. Another message. Unknown number. You let it in. A cold wave of dread washed over her. Let what in? Her eyes darted to the front door. It was still locked, just as she had left it. But as she turned her gaze back to the dim hallway, a realization struck her like ice. The apartment was different. The details, tiny, almost unnoticeable things, had changed. The picture frame on the wall was slightly crooked. The rug near the coffee table was missing. The candle she had left on the table was now on the floor, unlit. Her knees threatened to buckle. This wasn't just fear. This was something deeper. Something wrong. A soft creak echoed from behind her. Not from the hallway this time, but from the living room, directly beside her. Sarah's grip on the phone tightened as her breath shuddered. She wasn't alone anymore. Sarah's breath came in short, panicked gasps as she slowly turned toward the living room. The shadows seemed to stretch unnaturally, shifting as if something moved within them. She clutched her phone tightly, the screen still glowing in her trembling hands. The message, "You let it in," repeated in her mind like an echo she couldn't escape. Then a whisper, not from the hallway, not from the bedroom, but from right next to her, low, hollow. "You finally see me." A chill surged through her veins, her body locked in place, every instinct telling her to run, to scream. But she couldn't. Slowly, her eyes drifted to the reflection in the dark TV screen across the room. She wasn't alone. A figure stood just behind her. Tall, its face obscured in shadow, its presence stretching beyond the limits of reality. Sarah's stomach twisted in terror. It had been there the entire time, watching, waiting, changing the space around her. With a strangled gasp, she spun around, expecting to come face to face with the presence, but nothing was there. The apartment was silent again, as if it had swallowed every trace of the thing she had seen. But Sarah knew better. It wasn't gone. It was here. Her phone buzzed once more. Unknown number. "Look outside." Tears stung her eyes as she stumbled toward the window, heart pounding so hard she thought it might break through her ribs. The city lights flickered below, the world outside looking as normal as ever. But then she saw it, her own reflection in the glass, staring back at her. Except it wasn't her. The reflection blinked, but Sarah hadn't moved. Its lips curled into a slow, unnatural smile, and then, before her eyes, it stepped away from the glass and into the room. Sarah's scream finally broke free, but it was too late. Sarah stumbled backward, her breath coming in ragged gasps as the figure from the reflection stepped into her apartment. It moved like a shadow, fluid and unnatural, its smile never fading. Her body screamed at her to run, but she was frozen in place, trapped between terror and disbelief. She blinked, hoping, praying that it was just her mind playing tricks on her. But when she opened her eyes, it was closer, just a few feet away now. And then it spoke. "You were never supposed to see me." Its voice wasn't loud, but it echoed, sinking into every corner of the room. Sarah clenched her fists, forcing herself to think. This thing, whatever it was, had been watching her, changing her space, twisting the reality around her. But why? What did it want? Her phone buzzed again, the screen flickering. Another message. Unknown. Number. It takes your place. A sickening realization dawned on her. This thing wasn't just haunting her. It was replacing her. It had been altering her world piece by piece, making it fit for something else. The crooked picture, the missing rug, the candle moved from the table. Each change wasn't random. It was erasing her, one small detail at a time. "No," she whispered, her voice barely more than a breath. The figure tilted its head. The shadows around it pulsed, stretching toward her. Sarah's heart pounded as she made a desperate choice. If it was trying to take her place, maybe there was still time to fight back. She lunged for her phone, gripping it tightly. If the messages had warned her before, maybe they could help her now. She typed with shaking hands, "How do I stop it?" The response came instantly. Unknown number. "You don't." Sarah's stomach dropped. The moment she read those words, the air in the apartment shifted. A force, cold, invisible, wrapped around her. Her vision blurred. She tried to scream, to move, but everything around her twisted like a collapsing dream. And then, nothing. The room was still. A moment later, the apartment door opened. Sarah stepped out. Her face was calm, her movements smooth. She grabbed her keys, checked her phone, and smiled. Everything was exactly as it should be. The only thing left behind was the dim reflection in the window, the real Sarah, trapped on the other side, pounding against the glass. But no one could hear her. and no one ever would.